Hello and welcome to my presentation on my forecast on the implosion of public education. I know this sounds alarmist. However, if you hear all of my information, I'm hoping you will see that it is more reality than fiction. As a parent, I think about this all the time. Education is the cornerstone of our world. However, when education ceases to be that cornerstone because we have failed to prepare our students to get ready for the new work world, that becomes a very big issue. This is the problem that I speak of. We are looking to eliminate 6% of all US jobs with automation. That's 9 million jobs. When you consider 150 million jobs available, loss of 6% to automation is huge. I use the Pew Research Center as the cornerstone of my research because of how they studied and asked many different professors, many different people from many different regions about how prepared we are in working with AI and the tools that they have. Education is the problem. Right now, we are struggling with a teacher work shortage. We have a hard time trying to fill those positions. We also are pouring a lot of money into education, using standardized tests to validate the money we spent on the new education that we're providing our students, and you can see that we're failing, especially here in California. Also, we struggle with the standards and benchmarks and being able to get away from the idea that we're teaching to a test. When we consider that education is supposed to be improving the workforce, we see here that 46.1% were the ones adequately prepared from Sonoma Valley High School, a mid-ranged 6 out of 10 school from great schools in, I would say, the northern half, mid-north half of California in the wine country. This by the Sonoma Index Tribune. And I'm using these articles more than pictures, going against my very nature, because I wanted people to see how this information is real. Otherwise, it does seem more sci-fi that of what I'm talking about. The workplace executives hiring people, seeing that the recent graduates feel that they are 87% of them felt that they were ready for the work world, and the hiring managers, only half of them agreed. The experts are clearly saying that we're in trouble. We are not thinking hard enough about the problem, and that we are not doing things to actually get ourselves ready for an automated world. This is why I feel we are going to see the implosion of the public school system. And I will give you my reasons. The first issue is the fact that we are a million jobs over people having people to work them. That means that we have a surplus of a million jobs. So I believe the exact number is 7.8 million, and we only have 6.8 million people to service those jobs. That means we're going to see automation even quicker than anyone thought possible. Companies are not going to do well with the lack of productivity with so few workers, as those job openings may actually increase. And this is a estimation of, in Southern California, how this is going to affect us. And you could see by the chart that any color represents a 50% risk of job automation and therefore job loss. When we look at education, I brought this quote out to show that we are suffering with how to pay for it. And this is just based on how much money teachers make and making the job promising enough to actually entice more teachers to come, because again, we have a teacher shortage. We also see that the solutions of creating massive open online courses have not worked. And we have spent a lot of money on education. This is 67 billion, as you can see in the highlighted at the bottom, from US foundations. Well, this is not the education budget, which was $1 trillion last year, which was 400 billion more than what we spent on our military. We are looking at a more progressive change as the years go on. We're looking by 2022, 75 million jobs lost, old world jobs, which means we're going to need new ways to educate and train these people. And that's not just the students in high school, that's the people who are currently on the job right now. We currently rank 9th behind Estonia and Canada to actually get our people work ready in terms of automation. And we are still stuck in our K through 12 schools with 80 to 100 year ideas about curriculum. No one has gotten a grip. This is publicly speaking. Nobody's coming to grip with how we're going to do this. However, this was the cornerstone of my solution, of what my forecast is. Charter schools and industry are going to step up big. And that's where the parents are going to take their kids. And that's why I feel public education is going to implode. Because with the promise of being able to get connected to 75 companies, the Lambda school, as an example of the charter school, will be able to get kids working right out of high school, giving their diploma a lot more credence than a public education one that doesn't get kids prepared. So the point is this, that if I have a charter school connected to industry, way better prepared to get my kid a job, anywhere from 90,000 to 52,000 as stated here. And currently, the best that we can do in education in a mid-range school, because they're not all high-ranged, mid-range school is 46% prepared for the work world. What happens to that other 47%? Or the 46.9%? That's scary. Education has got to go the way of critical thinking, providing better skills, making sure that we are not pointing students in a direction that is going to be no outcome. It's going to be a dead end. Even programming, there's a lot of work where AI is doing a lot of the programming. In the next 10 years, that could very much be a job we prepare students for that goes away. I have to take a moment to talk about Brian Kaplan's book, because The Case Against Education speaks loudly about how education is a lot of false flags. The three ideas he talks about are signaling, human capital, and the sheepskin effect. Signaling being the most harmful, that when we go to high school, we get A's, which says that we get to sit down, we can do our work, and we can conform. That's really what the grades are based on. When we go to college, the same thing. We go to a college, we sit down, we conform, we do our work, we get a high grade. Depending upon the college you go to, is the amount of work that you do, the amount of quality work is questioned, but the amount of work and the difficulty is not, and that's why a Harvard diploma is worth a lot more than one from Sac State or Sacramento State University here in California. Human capital. The education system was supposed to create a huge group of people ready to enter into the work world. The number from Sonoma High School actually counters that argument. How can we say that education is truly creating a human capital, a treasure trove of human capital, when only half are ready for the work world? Sheepskin effect, sheepskin being the original way diplomas were written out and given out. We have a lot of people going to college, I'm using college as an example, who seek out the easiest teachers to get the easiest work to get the grade. Students at every level always say, what can I do to improve my grade, rather than what can I do to improve my intelligence or my skills. That is why the Brian Kaplan book fit very nicely into this presentation, and why I'm giving another nail in the coffin to what public education is going to end up being, imploding. My matrix provided this, and at the upper top left is what my most likely outcome for my forecast, that I believe charters and industry are going to come together to be able to create solutions that parents will buy into. I think junior colleges and MOCs, because junior colleges are going to be they're already looking at themselves as having to improve upon what high school is not giving them. Plus, junior colleges already have those partnerships because they're a junior college. They already have those partnerships set up. I can think a middle college would be a huge boost to the education system. Yes, industry coming up with its own idea, and public school using career technical education. I think it's just going to be too slow. I think the schools that have it already are going to be fine. There's going to be too few schools that have bought in, and it's going to be too late at that time, and the switch will already be on. This really goes to swift automation adoption or slow automation adoption. That's really what it comes down to. How this cannot happen. School boards wake up. They start realizing right now that we need wholesale changes now. Not later, now. Automation ends up slowing, that we're not going to see a huge growth rate, but as you can see here, it doesn't look like it, especially with what's being spent. The massive open online courses need to be there, and I believe the only way that's going to work is if industry sees a value to them. The value's got to come in the lack of qualified workers, and they're going to come out and say, we have these programs that you can use on your phones under the tutelage of high school or charter schools to get kids and parents, because remember, we're not just dealing with education with the students. There's going to be a lot of parents affected by this. They're going to have to be forced to go through education to get themselves ready for the new work world, because we're going to have to retrain them as well. The growth rate is going to be huge. And it's really difficult to fight against these productivity numbers, because we all know that from 1995 to 2005, which most of us lived in, how fast things have gotten, right? And even in comparison to when I was a kid, that it's not even close. To see what is possible now, and a lot of us have felt it from 2015. It's this job. I'm doing this presentation on an iPad that didn't exist in 2005, and I'm using automation software to help me do the presentation as I speak. I could only do this in front of a camera before, not something like this. This is the most unlikely that we start to refuse or go against or protest automation. This is what we'll be fighting. We'll be fighting the productivity growth versus how we want to keep our humanity. And I think it may come down to that. The future really needs to be, and this is the cute picture I found, and it dawned on me later that this is really what the future has to be. I see children being able to interact with automation more. I do believe everybody should have an Alexa or a Siri or a Google Home to learn how to interact with automation, to be able to use it in accordance with their life. It's like having a right-hand person. Hey Google, I need this. Hey Siri, I need that. Hey Alexa, add this to my um, shopping list. And
What is your mother's name?
and of course, you just heard Siri got it wrong. So this is really where the future needs to be, is critical thinking, using these skills along with automation to increase our productivity, but in the school setting. Okay, stop vilifying phones, stop vilifying automation, stop vilifying the things that we need to be able to fight the automation that's coming. Because otherwise, we're going to be a world at more odds than we already are. And anyway, this was a scary presentation to do, and even to present it, it's been hard because I'm scared about this every day. And in some ways, I hope I'm very wrong, but the information says I'm not. Anyway, thank you very much for your time, and appreciate it.